Sheila Donahue, and I'm founder of Vero. We go around the world seeking unique and interesting wines from small producers, and we sell them across the United States to businesses and consumers. And our website is verovinogusto.com. When I was studying to become a sommelier, which, believe it or not, was about 20 years ago, I discovered the champagne style wines of Italy, which have become one of my favorite styles. And it's even better when they're made from an obscure grape on volcanic soil. And so I'm super excited about today's VeroTalk with Sandro de Bruno Winery, whose Durella sparkling wines we just imported into the United States for the first time earlier this year. So we're live with the owner and winemaker, Sandro Tassoniero.
Okay.
Welcome. He is in Veneto, Italy, at his winery, which is also his home. And we also have with us as a moderator who's going to lead our exploration and wine tasting, sommelier and fellow woman in wine, Roxanne Langer.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. There's shout out to those of you also on Facebook. So we want to make this interactive. If you have any questions, just feel free to unmute yourself or write it in the chat. And so I'll turn it over to Roxanne.
I have a question. It is 43 degrees in California today. I'd like to know what the temperature was in Italy, if it was warmer.
La temperatura.
Sì, in Italia in questo momento abbiamo, è una situazione un po' anomala. Ha fatto della neve sopra i 1000 metri una settimana fa, poi è piovuto, adesso abbiamo la neve tra i 1500 e dai 1500 in su, e attualmente in Verona siamo a 8 gradi in questo momento.
So where
No, diciamo che, scusa, la temperatura adesso è scesa molto perché è buio. Oggi avevamo 9-10 gradi, in questo momento siamo a 3 degrees.
3 degrees, okay.
Sì.
So where I am in Ventura, the low here, which is around the mid 40s, was the high in Verona, which is the closest city to where Sandro is. And now, of course, it's colder, but it's not yet freezing. Although he said it did snow recently up in, let's say, he said, I think around 1,000 or 1,500 meters, which would pretty much be in the mountains. So they have snow there. So
You look at this, is possible? You look.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Tomorrow,
0 degrees.
Tomorrow is 0 degrees.
Wow.
And after is the weather is crazy in Italy. It's very crazy. It's not normal.
Not normal.
It's very problem.
It's a little bit abnormal here too, and that it's so cold. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the winery Sandro de Bruno. We're going to talk about its region and its terroir. We're going to talk about the grape, which is really unusual. And then we're also going to talk about the terroir, the soils, the climate, what we were just talking about, the temperature, etc. And then the best part, we get to taste the wines. So to begin with, we obviously know that the winery is Sandro de Bruno, and he and his wife founded this winery in 2002. They strive to make the best representative wines of the vocation of the territory of which these wines were born. So, Sandro, I have one quick question and then we'll keep going, but can you tell us how you got interested in wine?
La domanda, Sandro, è come è iniziato il tuo percorso nel mondo del vino?
Allora, il mio percorso parte da molto lontano perché Mio nonno ha lavorato in America per 26 anni, perché in questa zona di queste colline c'è stata un sacco di immigrazione all'inizio degli anni 900. Il nonno è tornato dopo 26 anni diciamo, si è sposato, ha acquistato dei terreni e ha iniziato a produrre praticamente, a coltivare la vigna e a produrre un po' di vino, che allora si vendeva nelle osterie, diciamo, di Verona o Vicenza. Mio papà ha iniziato anche lui da giovane e quindi è stata una cosa tramandata di padre in figlio. Diciamo che io sono nato proprio in cantina, quindi è una cosa che ho un po' nel sangue questa.
Quindi, so I'll translate. Sandro's grandfather, who actually was born in Veneto, did go to the United States in the early 1900s to live and work. And so he was here for about 6 years and then went back to Italy, to his hometown, and we'll get into the details of where they are shortly. But he then his grandfather then bought land and started to cultivate wine, and he started to make wine. He would sell it to the local, he said, osterias, which would be like kind of not so much restaurants, but food establishments, but sort of just casual food establishments, and which are pretty much the most prevalent in Italy in any case. And then he his father, Sandro's father, started also to make wine. And Sandro was actually born in, he said, the cantina, which is it translates as the wine cellar, but it also translates it as the winery overall. So he was born in the winery practically.
Well, great. So with the maps that we have in front of us, we're going to start talking about the region and the terroir. And according to Tassounier, the winery is immersed. As an American, I would have said located, but I love the visual picture of the word immersed. So the winery is immersed in the area of Soave and the Lacini Mountains between, you might have to help me with this, Sheila, Montecchia di Carosa and Terrarossa de Ronca, the volcanic lands, and particularly suitable to these great grapes that he's growing. And if you look at the map, we're talking about a region in the very northern part of Italy. Actually, if you can go to the right, yeah, exactly.
So we're talking about the Veneto region, which is this darker blue area.
Right. And then even more specifically, you can see on the larger map, Venice and then Verona to the left. And his vineyards are located much closer to the Verona side. But he did find, which I thought was kind of fun, he found a slight imperfection with this map in that two of the areas are switched. So Soave is actually the darker. It. Oh, you did? I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. You didn't tell me that, but perfect. Anyway, you can see where Lacini is. So it's just in the northern part there. And we have a beautiful picture of the vineyards with these ancient mountains in the background at the bottom of this slide. And there's two DOCs in this area, Monte Lacini DOC, which is a broader DOC region, and then Lacini Durella DOC, which is smaller and specifically for Spumante wines, or what are called sparkling wines in Italian. They're made either in the Charmant method or the true method champenois, which is known in Italian as metato champagne in Italy. So he only works with the metato style, which is wonderful because those are the best wines. And these wines are all reflected in their environmental quality, which, as you can see in the picture at the bottom, it's consisting of a lot of mountain ranges and narrow valleys, all of volcanic origin. And when we talk about the actual volcanic soils in a few minutes, but just to give you a little bit more background on the region, the most important dimension of this territory is its biodiversity and the presence of woods and meadows, insects, predators, pollinators, and indigenous microorganisms that live in symbiosis with plants constitute elements that are highly qualifying in terms of the quality of life of these vineyards. And it really doesn't hurt that this winery happens to have a national park nearby, which really keeps all of this biodiversity in check and healthy, because obviously in national parks, they have to be very careful of what they're doing to the plants, etc. And they keep it healthy, which means the regions near the park are also going to be very healthy. So the area included in the DOC zone of Monte Lacini wine extends into the hilly portion of the Eastern Lacini, which is straddling both the provinces of Verona and Vicenza. The altitude in this area where he is about 800 meters. The water system, which is so incredibly important, if you know anything about California vineyards at the moment, our biggest issue is going to be water in the future. It is just going to be water because we don't have any. So the fact that this area is very well developed and consists mainly of the Lacini rivers that kind of traverse the entire region. The climate of the areas also has an annual rainfall of about 163 millimeters, which equates to 42 inches. And as a reference, Napa gets between 25 and 38 inches, depending on where you are in the valley. So this area gets even more rain than Napa, and it's consistent. Napa goes through droughts, just like the rest of California. So this area is just fine with water. The annual temperatures at the winery are about 13.7 Celsius, which equates to 56 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, that's pretty similar to Northern California, maybe just a little bit cooler than Northern California on any given day. But as long as it has the warmer temperatures during the harvest, that's all that's important. And what it really does is give those vines lovely months to go dormant and sleep, which back to California is going to be a problem for us because of global warming. We're really losing those cool temperatures in the winter months when our grapes need to sleep. Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Just one thing I think that's pretty a good sort of point of reference for people who know at least some have some information, let's say, about Italian wines, is that the Lacini appellation, which is what we're focusing on today, that's the Durella Lacini is the appellation for the sparkling wines that we'll be tasting. They're right next to the Valpolicella wine region. So the Valpolicella, most people know as the for Amarone wines, which are quite popular in the United States. So the if you'll see the Lacini is the yellowish area here. That's right above the light blue area. That's Valpolicella. So they actually touch each other in some points, but it's a higher altitude than Valpolicella.
Okay.
So should I go to the next one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And this is just a more direct map that he actually provided for us. So it shows you where some of the major landmarks are in reference to the wine area. And if you want to go to the next slide.
Is it this one? Oh, it's this
is it
one.
grape?
Yeah.
Yeah, the grape. So the interesting part about this area, at least to me, is that the grape is called Durella, but the wine itself is called Durello. And Durello wine accompanied the ancient Romans back in the Cimbri people. And the geological origin dates back millions of years when these areas were formed from a seabed. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about the soil, but talking about the grape itself, it is grown mostly in Monte Licini, but as you mentioned, I believe some of it is allowed to be grown in Valpolicella as well, considering that they are right next to each other. The grape is white, light-skinned, but it's very high in acidity, and the flavor profile is delicate, floral, citrusy, mineral. But I'd love to ask about the skin versus the acidity level, because thick-skinned grapes tend to have a little bit more tannin in them, even if they're white. So if we can ask about the grape itself and how he deals with that, both in the vineyard and in the winery.
I mean the thick skin.
Yes.
Ok. Quindi la domanda, Sandro, è come gestisci il fatto che la buccia è spesso dell'uva Durella.
Allora, questa buccia, diciamo, importante ci dà un aiuto in vigna perché possiamo utilizzare, diciamo, poca chimica, perché questa grossa buccia praticamente fa fatica a marcire e anche essere attaccata da muffe perché ha uno spessore importante. In vigna, scusa, in cantina invece, rispetto, diciamo, a un Chardonnay o un Pinot Nero che hanno una buccia molto più sottile, per riuscire a estrarre un po', diciamo, di aromi, ma anche un po' di struttura, dobbiamo fare delle macerazioni abbastanza, diciamo, lunghe, di 15-18 ore. Quindi teniamo, diciamo, l'uva diraspata, cioè quindi separiamo l'acido dal raspo, cioè abbiamo un destream, e all'interno della pressa chiusa, praticamente in saturazione di azoto, manteniamo queste bucce a temperatura attorno agli 8 gradi, molto fredde con la saturazione, diciamo, dell'azoto, e per cercare praticamente di andare un po' a lisare la buccia, a rosicchiare, come a togliere qualcosa che ha all'interno della buccia. Non ci interessa la parte esterna, ma ci interessa la parte interna dove ci sono tutti gli aromi e i profumi praticamente che poi sentiremo nel vino. Quindi, diciamo, un po' la nostra tecnica è quella di fare una macerazione pellicolare a freddo, che sarebbe un cold skin maceration. Questo è un po' il concetto per riuscire a tirar fuori da quest'uva praticamente questa sua bella parte, questa piccola parte aromatica, perché non è un'uva ricca di profumi.
So Sandro was saying how in the vineyard the thick skin helps. In fact, that has come up in conversations that we've had also with Antonella Manuli of La Magliosa in Tuscany, in terms of trying to minimize intervention in the vineyard, especially against the muffa, help me out, the mold. So the mold, especially in the springtime, is the most let's say the biggest risk in terms of you know, hurting the crop or the vintage of that year. So you know, so having the thick skin helps that. Although when he actually makes the wines, the thick skin is a bit of a hindrance because he wants the aromas to come out, and the aromas are actually inside in the fleshy part of the grape. So in order to do that, he does a cold skin maceration of about like 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. Perfect. So let's go ahead and move to the soil. As far as I'm concerned, soil is the most important part when you decide to grow grapes. And if I was asked which two soils are the best overall to make grapes anywhere in the world, it would be limestone and absolutely 100% volcanic. And we had a great conversation earlier with Tessonere about the different volcanoes in Italy, like Etna, etc. But where he's located, these volcanoes are ancient volcanoes. So the work's already been done. The soils are already chopped up and deeply rooted into the whole soil system. So he just has these beautiful volcanic soils to work with. And they help with the different mineralities, which I think you'll taste in the sparkling wines when we taste them. It also gives other micro elements that just add this complexity to any wine, and specifically, I think, to his. And they do retain water, volcanic soil. So that helps with the deep root systems, because when you grow grapes, you really don't want fertile soils. You want harsh soils so that the grapevine has to really dig deep with its roots. And that way it doesn't focus on producing these big, beautiful leaves. It focuses mainly on the berries because it doesn't have time for those big, beautiful leaves or energy. So Volcanic is just perfect for all of that. And would he like to say anything else about the particular volcanic soils?
Well,
because we can
I mean,
move into tasting as well.
Yeah, I just think I'll just say a couple of words of some things that Sandro had mentioned the other day that I thought was interesting, which is that in this in the area where he is, the Lacini area, that it differs from the other areas in Italy, as such as Etna, which is an active volcano. And maybe I'll ask him what the differences would be between an area that has an active volcano like Etna versus an ancient. Sandro, la domanda è quale la differenza per te come una che lavora in vigna in cantina, tra i vini che vengono da Etna rispetto ai vini che vengono dalla zona, la tua zona vulcanica? Sandro, non ti sento. Non ti sento. He doesn't realize, I guess, that he's muted.
He's muted.
So,
we could start tasting the wines and you could text him and
sure.
let him know.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first wine that we have is the 30-month, or we should probably start with the 60-month dosage. And when we have him back, he actually uses the method traditionnel. So he makes a still wine.
Mi senti,
Oh,
Sheila?
there he is.
Sì.
Ah, ok. È successo qualcosa di strano. Pardon, non ho toccato niente. Volevo fare una... non so come mai sono andato adesso io non vi vedo più. Vabbè, comunque
adesso va bene.
Okay,
magari se riesci a rispondere alla domanda tra le differenze.
Sì. Allora, innanzitutto il suolo vulcanico che c'è nei Monti Lessini e il suolo vulcanico o il vulcano diciamo Etna sono della stessa tipologia. La cosa importante è che il nostro vulcano è vecchio di 50 milioni di anni e non è più, per fortuna, attivo. Il nostro è un vulcano spento. Diciamo, quello che noi abbiamo oggi è quello che arriverà nel vulcano Vesuvio, nel vulcano Etna fra 50 anni. Però la stessa tipologia, diciamo, di magma, di suolo è uguale, perché se qualcuno ha la fortuna di andare a Catania, vede nel mare praticamente questa colata lavica di sasso nero che assomiglia molto a questo sasso nero che abbiamo qui dalle nostre parti. Diciamo, come tipo di minerali è uguale. Poi c'è una grande differenza, che siamo a 1200 km di distanza, e abbiamo una latitudine molto, abbiamo adesso non so il parallelo della Sicilia, quello del Veneto, però siamo comunque in due ambienti completamente diversi. Alla fine, comunque, i vini, cioè quelli fatti bene, hanno questa matrice minerale che si assomiglia molto. Questa parte finale, diciamo, leggermente ammandorlata, salata, si assomiglia molto, anche in qualsiasi qualità del vino, anche in un Pinot Nero, un Catarato, un Areno Mascarese, alla fine messi vicino hanno praticamente questo finale che li accomuna, cioè proprio il DNA della radice che è nella terra va un po' a dare questi marcatori che sono uguali. Ovvio, ripeto, che diciamo la Sicilia siamo a 1200 km, è molto più a sud, quindi abbiamo temperature diverse, escursioni termiche diverse e anche, diciamo, sì, è completamente un altro clima. Però, ripeto, la matrice, diciamo, di base, proprio quella che è proprio nel finale soprattutto, i vini si accomunano, sono fratelli, ecco. Questo un
So,
po'.
basically Sandro is saying that the wines from the Lessini area, which is an ancient volcano, it's 50 million years older than the soil and the volcano in Etna. Despite the age difference, the soil is basically the same. And then also the impact on the wines is also very much the same in terms of the minerality that you get in both wines from Lessini and wines from Etna. The main cause, let's say, of differences between the wines from both areas would be more due to the fact that that there's different temperatures, different exposures. Sicily, the Etna area, you're closer to the sea, etc.
That makes sense. Hey. Okay, well, let's taste these wines. Would he prefer that we taste the 36 or the 60 month?
I think we should do the 36 first.
That's what I had. Okay.
Facciamo
And-
prima il 36 mesi per assaggiare. Okay.
And then can you ask, I'm going to explain just a little bit about the method, but can you ask him what dosage he does use in the wine? Actually,
Yeah, I know. I think we're missing on this slide. The 36 month is a 0 dosage.
yes.
And then we can ask them about
When we
you
get
want to
there.
ask them how
Perfect.
many in the 36 month, how many grams of sugar there is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the 60 month is an extra brut, so.
Yeah.
But we're going to taste the 36 month right now, right?
Yes.
So this one here.
But just in case that if you are not familiar with how you make sparkling wine, you actually make a still wine first. You add additional yeast into the wine, which develops the second fermentation in the bottle, which is where the bubbles come from. And there is a fun photo, which I'm not sure we have up here, but it is on his website of him and in Sheila's promos piece where he's actually shaking the bottle. So he mixes up the yeast, then he turns it over, puts it into an area where he can shake it again in a couple days. And then he actually disgorges the yeast. And with this wine, doesn't put in any dosage, but with the second one, he does, and then puts the champagne cap in, tightens up, and gets it out to market. And these wines have done very well with critics, so I'm excited for you all to get to hear about them. When you take off a champagne wire, you turn it 6 times. When you open a bottle of champagne, you actually hold the bottle and I'm sorry, you hold the cork and you turn the bottle. And this one is coming out very nicely. As much as we love to hear that pop, it's it's good to try to keep as many bubbles in there. I'm actually using a regular wine glass because the French came out and said that there's no reason to use a flute, mainly because they realized that if people didn't have flutes, they weren't drinking any sparkling wine. But it does work just as well in a regular wine glass. And you can be able to smell it, in my opinion, a little bit better. With champagne, you don't need to swirl it because the bubbles bring it up into the air. But look how beautiful that is. I mean, it's just gorgeous. These bubbles are fast and small, and it's really bringing all those flavors up to the nose. I do have a question. If you can ask him, is the color primarily from the grape varietal?
Il colore del vino viene dalla buccia praticamente.
Allora, questo colore abbastanza carico, diciamo viene dalla buccia, perché la buccia essendo grossa porta anche colore. Poi facendo un po' di macerazione, come ho detto prima, carichiamo un po' di colore. Ma essendo un vino di montagna, dobbiamo anche considerare che abbiamo i raggi ultravioletti che spingono molto, cioè va un po' a abbronzare l'uva. Con la macerazione abbiamo questi colori abbastanza, diciamo, carichi. Quindi non è un vino, diciamo, pallido. È un vino con un certo carattere, perché siamo dai 400 ai 600 metri d'altezza e la buccia comunque diciamo, si colora molto bene, diventa anche quasi gialla, bella gialla dorata l'uva, è molto molto bella da vedere, l'uva bella matura. Ecco, dobbiamo anche maturarla perché essendo un'uva di montagna con un'acidità, soprattutto di acido malico altissima, per riuscire poi a equilibrarlo un attimo dobbiamo un po' maturare, diciamo, un po' più, diciamo, rispetto alla tecnica di uno spumante normale. Per quest'uva, ripeto, è molto ricca di acidi e ha un'acidità molto importante. Acidità intesa come acidità malica, come i limoni in bocca, in questo senso. Andando a maturare, diciamo, parecchio, ecco che riusciamo a ammorbidirli, però ci portiamo a casa dei toni abbastanza carichi, diciamo. Poi a seconda, siamo lineari e riusciamo ad avere un colore un po' meno. Nelle annate molto calde il colore ovviamente si carica un po'.
Okay, so for sure the color it's like a straw yellow color, right? That you're getting nice and golden. Yeah, that comes from the primarily from the thick skin of the grape, but also of course the maceration that he does also of course will extract some of the color. And then he did mention that that it is a mountain wine, you know, it's a wine from the mountain. It's a higher altitude. And so so that this will also give the wine in general just more character. I mean, it's a grape already that has a naturally high acidity, but being that it's from the mountains, it will have more acidity. And in fact, in the harvesting is done slightly later for, you know, for this wine, because he wants it to be more mature. Yeah, especially the Durella grape compared to some of the other grapes he cultivates for classic method wines.
So what I'm finding in this, which I think is really interesting, and it's exactly what Hugh just said, the flavor profile is so beautifully acidic, but not acidic in the sense of most places bring in the grapes so dang early. They, there's not a lot of flavor in the grapes because they have to get them at such a high acidity. This one has high acidity, but it still has that rich flavor profile, a lot of minerality, and then just beautiful floral, and ending with, again, that nice acidity, not that sharp acidity that so many sparklings do have because they have to bring those grapes in so early. So it's really a rich mouthfeel, especially considering how high these grapes are grown and all of the acidity that goes with it. And a beautiful flavor profile. Even though it's a 0 dosage, it is not so tight in your mouth that you don't feel like there's any flavor, because some 0 dosages are just so dry that there's just not much else in there. And again, this one is really rich. I'm saying that because I'm surprised. So, it's beautiful. Should we move on to the second one?
Yeah. I just
Do you want him to say something?
well, he did. It seems like he got kicked off of the Zoom, so yeah, I think you mentioned Roxanne before, but just to emphasize that that both of these wines got 95 points by Wine Enthusiast. So so that's just a confirmation in terms of the the fact that these are great wines to have.
And this one, I haven't tasted the other one yet, but today, but this one is definitely a food-friendly wine. There's so much that you could pair this with, from the normal, typical sparkling wine things that are very salty or very tangy, such as oysters, etc. But this just has so much more body to it that you could move into beautiful cheeses and chicken, with even with cream sauce, which a lot of times sparkling would just be too acidic for that. So
and do you get the minerality?
A lot of minerality.
Yeah.
A ton of it. In fact, that was the first thing that I smelled, and then the floral came through and a little bit of the fruit.
So in terms of smelling it, is it like a flinty smell, aroma? Is that
Flint, but even more into the mineral deposits like magnesium and the more intense minerals, but it melds out with the flavors and that complexity. To me, it smells and tastes like an alpine wine, which I know they're in the pre-Alps, but they're pretty dang close to the Alps.
Ti sento, Sandro, ma non ti vedo. Non ti vedo.
Non mi vedi?
No.
Oh. Perché continuo, è andato via prima un po' tutto, poi mi vedi?
So Sandro is trying to get the video started.
Mi senti?
What about the minerality on the taste? Do you get it also on the taste?
Are you asking me or him?
Yeah, no, you.
No, absolutely. And it's not drying. It's there in your tongue, but it's not drying. So honestly, very, very impressed. I don't have to say that. And I would definitely be buying this wine.
Yeah, we scheduled this VeroTalk in December because it is kind of a month where sparkling wines are top of mind for people. So
yes, but this one should be paired with food. It's not just a drinking wine or a celebratory wine. It's a wine that you can easily serve, with dinner, which is exciting. Does
Okay.
he want to say anything about this wine, or should we move on to the second?
Sandro, vuoi dire qualcosa del vino di 36 mesi?
Sì, ma
Particolare?
non riuscite a vedermi?
No, ma
Sentire
comunque
sì?
riusciamo a sentirti, magari
Ah, ok.
sì, sì.
Allora, diciamo innanzitutto, 36 mesi è nata 2017, perché è un vino che è rimasto praticamente 18 mesi in acciaio con i suoi lieviti, prima di entrare in bottiglia. È una prova in grande che si è fatto. Dopodiché è un dosaggio zero, quindi non ha zuccheri, zero zuccheri, e diciamo che si sente questa bella parte citrina, questa parte proprio acida, che è un vino che diciamo ha bisogno di un cibo abbastanza grasso, cioè del pesce grasso, del pesce fritto, dei salumi, dei formaggi. Ecco che in quel caso lì riesce ad essere avvolgente e creare la pulizia. Proprio non è uno spumante da aperitivo, ma è uno spumante per accompagnare i pasti.
Mhm.
E diciamo al naso si sentono anche delle note calde comunque, perché nel 2007 in Italia, in questa zona, è stata un'annata molto calda e quindi non è solo, diciamo, parte, ha anche questa bella parte di agrumi, quindi
Mhm.
è molto complesso al naso. Questo è
Mhm.
un vino che ci darà soddisfazioni molto più avanti, cioè per me adesso è ancora giovane, può veramente dare grandi soddisfazioni nel tempo, può
Mhm.
andare tranquillamente avanti diverso tempo ancora.
Mhm. Per
Ecco.
quanti anni
No, facciamo i 100 mesi, quindi per 8-10 anni senza problemi, zero problemi.
Mhm. Okay, so he was just emphasizing that this 36-month um wine, was aged for 36 months in the bottle on the lees.
Eccolo.
It has zero sugar, so the zero dosage, and he was emphasizing of course that, like you said, Roxanne, that it has a lot of acidity, and he was also emphasizing too how it is a food wine. So to your point, it's not your typical celebratory wine. It's a wine to have with a dinner, and he was suggesting to pair it with either fried fish or, like in Italian they use this term like a fatty, a fleshier fish, I guess, like salmon, a bit of an more
Yep.
oily fish. So
So a Blanc de Blanc, which this, I mean, I know it's not Chardonnay, but because it's white, it would probably go more so that category. I've tasted very few Blanc de Blancs that have this kind of complexity. Certainly lots of Blanc de Noirs or even some house champagnes that have the Pinot or the Pinot Meunier in them. But there really is just this beautiful complexity in it. Can you ask him if, I know he did Sur Lie, but did he do Bantonnage? Did he stir the lees?
so that's obviously before bottling, right?
Yes.
Sandro, Roxana ha una domanda riguarda cosa fai prima di imbottigliare il vino. Per esempio, se va in inglese si chiama bâtonnage.
Sì.
French, yeah.
He might have dropped off again. It seems that his Wi-Fi is not stable, but
maybe he's down in the cellar.
yeah. So I see Jackie's she's on the Zoom. She's actually in Italy herself, but in Piedmont. But Jackie and I went to visit Sandro last year, so maybe maybe she knows the answer. But based upon my memory, he does he uses steel fermentation. It's not, it's not oaked. And I guess we'll just have to save that question for when he comes back. Oh, there he
Here he
is.
is.
That was my recollection, Sheila, what you
Okay.
just said.
Yeah.
That was my recollection, so.
Oh, now he's
He's talking.
we're not doing all right. Well,
Attiva, ok.
ah,
Allora,
Hey.
ok. No, allora, il sistema del batonnage, cioè la tecnica del batonnage, è praticamente la medicina per il vino. È una cosa importantissima perché il batonnage è nient'altro. Allora, io dico sempre una cosa, che in Italia la feccia fine viene chiamata palta, nel senso palta non è una bella cosa, mentre i francesi la chiamano feccia nobile. Quindi noi davamo un senso dispregiativo a questa sostanza, i francesi invece la chiamavano nobile. Noi siamo arrivati tardi, però l'abbiamo capita. Non è semplice lavorare con la feccia fine, bisogna fare tutto perfetto, cioè è tutto un lavoro fatto bene in vigna, di uva sana, pulita, una bella vinificazione, poche pressature, diciamo pressature soffici, rese, diciamo uva mosto attorno al 50-55% massimo. Dopodiché il vino a contatto con la sua feccia fine praticamente, come ripeto, è una medicina, crea manoproteine, cioè proprio va a ingrassare il vino, ma è anche un conservante e dà praticamente questa bella pienezza e rotondità al vino. È, diciamo, il segreto per fare i vini fatti bene. Cioè, battonage, io faccio tutti i vini, anche i soavi, i pinot neri, i sfumanti, uso tutta questa tecnica. Cioè, perché è veramente una sostanza naturale che abbiamo all'interno del vino, riusciamo a conservarlo e anche a amplificarne praticamente le sue, diciamo, amplifichiamo le sue particolarità e anche le sue ricchezze. Ecco.
so Sandro was the answer to your question is yes, he does do batonnage. In fact, he does it with all of his wines. And he sees it as a medicine for the wine. It's a natural, has a lot of natural benefits. There's protein. It helps it gives the wine some, body,
Complexity. Yep.
flesh. And he also made an interesting reference to the Italian word for lees is fece, which is also means number two.
Hey, he's showing. Yeah. He's showing the leaves in the bottle.
I prepare for. I prepare.
Are you doing the riddling? Cosa fai,
I think he's-
Sandro? Oh
He's
wait,
showing
No,
the
no.
leaves.
oh he's
He's
frozen.
gone again.
Oh, okay.
I think he was showing how the yeast is still in there and it's dropped to the
Oh,
side of the
okay.
bottle. Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, yeah. So I was saying that the fece is not a positive word in Italian, which is the direct translation of to lees. And he
funny.
was saying how the French, which in general, I've heard this, other people say they're great marketers, and so they coined the term in Italian. It would be fece nobili. So noble, noble, you know what?
That's funny.
Audio, ok. Video, I hope.
Sandro's becoming a Zoom expert.
Ok. Partito as a start for the video, I think. No, i francesi hanno imparato dallo spumante il batonnage. Mi vedete? Mi vedi, Sheila?
No, non ti vedo, ma hai detto che battonage è iniziato con i francesi o italiani?
No, allora, no, i francesi.
Francesi.
Allora, la scuola dei lieviti è stata praticamente imparata imparata dal metodo dello champagne, no? Che il
Okay.
vino rimaneva in bottiglia con i propri lieviti 2, 3, 4, 5 anni e si sono accorti che questo lievito praticamente dava struttura al vino, dava eleganza, dava morbidezza, non era un fattore negativo, era un fattore positivo. Quindi l'hanno portato anche nei vini fermi, no?
Mhm.
Cioè senza lasciare il vino in bottiglia con i suoi lieviti, il stesso concetto l'hanno trasportato praticamente nei vini fermi.
Mhm.
E quindi in botte, soprattutto nelle barrique o i tonneau, mettevano dentro il vino con la loro feccia e facevano questo batonnage per tenere il vino in sospensione. Ecco, non volevo vedere se riuscivo a entrare in video, però è strano che sta succedendo qualcosa.
So Sandro was just emphasizing how batonnage, not surprisingly, because the Italians use the French word batonnage. It comes, it was the French who let's say, brought this technique to Italy, or it was the French that inspired the Italians to start doing it in Italy.
Got it.
And it was basically rooted in champagne, making champagne, and that the technique in Italy is quite diffused now for also making still wines. So
Okay. Great.
so should we open up the 60-month?
Yes. So this is an extra brut, 60-month, which is amazing alone. Can you ask him what the dosage is that he uses, or is it, I'm sorry, did I miss that?
No, I have to ask him. He's getting back on again.
He probably just uses a wine that he has not fermented to dry to add back in, but because it's certainly not fortified.
No. Oh, actually, I have in my notes that there's 2 grams of sugar in the 60-month, and something that that we didn't mention. We can also ask him if you like once he gets back, but he does add a little bit of a Pinot Blanc, Pinot Bianco to both wines.
So I think the law there is that they can add up to 20% of Pinot Blanco.
I don't know
And-
offhand.
I think I read that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this one, probably because of the sugar and certainly the longer aging, it is even deeper in color. Maybe longer maceration, possibly. But the nose, you still get the classic minerality and maybe just slight pretty oxidation, which goes with the 60 months again.
Mhm.
And then it moves back into that floral, that light floral. So also a very pretty wine. Because of the sugar, even though that's not a ton of sugar, you could pair this with different dishes than you could pair the first one with. So you always want the wine to be drier than the food, but this could go just up a couple notches because of the slight sugar in it.
So what dishes do you think we could ask Sandro?
This one, oh, he's back. Great.
He's on his phone.
I think it could go with some pretty dry, not mainly sweet, but pretty dry fruit compote dishes. So anything that you want to put over chicken or even pork that isn't a sweet fruit compote, but a an apricot dry compote. I think that'd be beautiful.
If I can interject, I remember with this wine, Sheila, when we were at the winery, Sandro served us some Parmesan, and it blew my mind what a perfect like academic pairing it was. I kept sipping and eating and sipping and eating. It was perfect with that. It was perfect. So
yay. Yep, a dry cheese, that'd be perfect.
Sandro?
Allora, sto provando dal cellulare, mi senti?
Sì, ti sento.
Ecco, il computer è bloccato, non
Sì.
vuole
No,
più.
va bene con il telefonino.
Chiedo scusa, ma...
A cosa abbineresti il Durello di 60 mesi?
Allora, 60 mesi è un po' meno, diciamo, maturo concettualmente dell'altro. Però l'abbinamento c'è quello che è i formaggi, diciamo, dove c'è il grasso, noi lo usiamo, ad esempio, a fare a Venezia i cicchetti col baccalà mantecato. Baccalà mantecato può andare bene con...
Sì?
Scusa, conosci il baccalà mantecato?
Sì. Yeah, un attimo. So the first thing out of his mouth, which is interesting, is it would pair with baccalà mantecato, which we have a recipe on, I believe, Jackie, don't we?
Ok, partito.
Baccalà mantecato, no. We do have baccalà alla Vicentina.
Yes.
On the website.
So Jackie, you should start working on a recipe for baccalà mantecato.
I was thinking about taking a note that maybe there might be a recipe in the future. So stay tuned, everybody. Sign up for the newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, Jackie, for those of us who aren't quite sure what that is, can you describe it?
Sure. Baccalà mantecato. Baccalà is a form of cod preserved under salt or frozen. And so it's got kind of a salty texture to it. And basically you cook it very simply, usually steamed, and then you whip it with some potato puree, like a mashed potato, but not creamy mashed potatoes, or not cheesy mashed potatoes, a creamy mashed potato. So you kind of whip them together and it creates this kind of like a nice light, but very flavorful kind of a creamy puree. It's very good. It's very creamy. I enjoy it too. If you put like some capers on it, give it a little bit of acidity. But I can see where something like that has a very fatty feel in the mouth between the potatoes and the the starch in the potatoes and the baccalà, how that would also pair wonderfully with this wine.
With the acidity, yep, and the minerality.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes, please post that recipe.
Yeah, I'll get started working on that. And
okay, do we have any questions?
So I'll just stop the share. So I didn't see any questions in the chat. Anyone have any questions? I wanted Sandro to show us how he riddles. We didn't talk about that, right?
Sheila, finché finché funziona tutto, no? Faccio vedere una cosa. Queste sono le bottiglie che rimangono praticamente per 3 anni o 5 anni o 5 anni praticamente in catasta sur latte, si chiama così, sur latte. Noi conosciamo l'annata delle bottiglie perché ogni anno mettiamo un colore nel tappo particolare. Quindi abbiamo le cataste o le ceste in cantina e quindi conosciamo da questo. All'interno volevo farvi vedere i lieviti, se riesco in qualche maniera, vediamo un po' se riesco. Eccolo qua, forse così ci riesco. Cioè all'interno della bottiglia ci sono, eccoli, li vedete? Riuscite a vedere? Questi sono i lieviti.
Sì. Yeah, do you see the lieviti? Sorry.
Che hanno dato origine alla fermentazione del vino. Perché per far rifermentare il vino in bottiglia, per fare le bollicine, dobbiamo inserire, diciamo, nella bottiglia lieviti e zuccheri. Così avviene la fermentazione e avviene praticamente la produzione dell'anidride carbonica delle bollicine. Se vuoi tradurre, poi faccio il resto.
Yeah, well, he's showing us the lees in the bottle of
they go all the way down.
A bottle that has not been disgorged yet. That's why you see the lees in there. And he was saying that this is a future vintage of a 60-month Durello sparkling wine, and he actually uses different colors on the capsules, so that way he can recognize what wine it is.
Which ones they are. That's great.
Okay.
Poi per estrarre questi lievi dalla bottiglia, che è un'operazione abbastanza complessa e lunga, viene fatta questa agitazione, diciamo, a mano meccanica. I lieviti pian pianino praticamente loro vanno a scendere nel collo della bottiglia, cioè vanno nel fondo della bottiglia, cioè viene fatta questa agitazione, questi loro praticamente pian pianino loro scendono, ci vuole una settimana, 10 giorni perché scendano tutti quanti. Adesso vedete che il vino è andato un po' torbido. Questa proprio è la differenza. Poi tutto questo sporco praticamente scenderà piano sulla parte finale del collo della bottiglia. Dopodiché il collo della bottiglia verrà ghiacciato per questa parte e una volta che si forma un ghiacciolo che ha agglomerato all'interno i suoi lieviti, noi possiamo raddrizzare la bottiglia e stappare. La pressione interna spinge fuori questo ghiacciolo che conteneva i suoi lieviti.
So I think, Roxanne, you probably figured out what he was explaining, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can
So he's talking about the lees, which is the yeast that he added into a still bottle of wine, and then as time goes on, he's basically turning it so that the yeast eventually ends up in the top of the bottle, but you keep the bottle upside down so the yeast stays there. Then he freezes the top and he shoots out the yeast. And if it is no dosage, then he uses the same wine to put back in. And if it has any kind of a dosage, like the 60-month, he adds a little bit of, and that's what we were going to ask him, what he actually does add to that.
You mean at the way end?
Yeah,
Like
the dosage.
Liqueur.
So the, yeah.
Liqueur. Sandro, dopo escono i fecce e stai per proprio imbottigliarlo, diciamo non imbottigliarlo, ma chiuderlo finalmente.
Dégorgement in francese,
Sì.
dégorgement.
Sì. Se aggiungi, come si chiama?
Liqueur d'espédition.
Sì, liqueur, sì.
No. Stesso vino, non dosage. Non dosage oppure piccoli dosaggi. L'extra dosaggio zero non c'è aggiunto niente. Si regola solo a livello analitico, un po' di solforosa e basta. mentre nel 60 mesi, che è un extra brut, si inseriscono 2 grammi di zucchero, però sempre con lo stesso vino. Non c'è liqueur, non c'è nessun'altra cosa, molto naturale, solforose molto basse, diciamo metà di quello autorizzato in biologico, quindi vini molto 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 sani, con livello di SO2 veramente molto 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 basso.
Right.
So, so what he was explaining, that the liqueur he only adds to the extra brut, not to
60,
the
yeah.
verdissage, and he adds. We mentioned that the 2 grams of sugar, for the 60 month. However, it is basically from the same wine. So it's nothing added from external from any other external substance other than to both wines he adds a little bit of sulfites, but it's a low amount of sulfites.
Great. Well,
Do you want to
these are
ask him?
beautiful wines.
Should we ask him about the riddling to show us what he does with that?
Well, he was kind of showing us that when he
Yeah.
showed us the leaves and how he turns it upside down. But
Okay. Yeah, he does the riddling by hand. So it's he has a quante bottiglie fai di spumante di metodo classico?
Di spumante siamo intorno alle 35.000 bottiglie per anno.
Okay, so he makes 35,000 bottles a year of classic method sparkling wine. So that's not just the Durella. He also has other grapes that he cultivates, and so in total that's 35,000 bottle production of the classic method sparkling wines, and he does all the riddling by hand. He doesn't
Wow.
have machines that will turn them.
That's a
So
carpal tunnel situation. So what are the
I
prices?
polsi forte.
Yeah.
Sì, tutti a mano, vado così.
You need really good
Yeah.
there we go.
For mix very well after
Yeah.
put.
Yeah, I you may have seen I posted I found a video of when Jackie and I visited Sandro last year, and he was showing us how he was doing it in the wine cellar, and it kind of reminds me of I don't know, it reminds me of like a baseball bat or something, but
Two hand and two bottle.
he's an expert riddler.
And make this work how rain is not possible work in Vigna, and then employee go in cellar and take bottle. Is not possible this work every day. Today rain, okay, come in cellar,
Go in and
tour bottle after day in Vigna cut or other shows. Okay.
That's great.
All
So
right, well,
what are the prices? Last question. What are the prices in US dollars?
yeah, so I was putting that in the chat, but the
I'm sorry.
that's okay. The 36 month is $35 retail. And the 60 month one is $42 retail. And we sell to consumers online on our website, verovinogusto.com. And then also we sell to distributors around the country. We sell to wine stores and restaurants as well. So we encourage anybody, whether you're a consumer or in the wine business, to reach out to us on verovinogusto.com to either buy the wine or inquire about pricing and tasting it if you work in the business.
Perfect.
but is very important, Shida. Is making wine is work. Other work is in italiano, è coltivare la vigna. Il futuro è dove coltivi la vigna, perché è molto importante coltivare la vigna in ambienti sani, dove c'è aria pulita, cielo limpido, dove non c'è industria, dove c'è un suolo, diciamo, non inquinato. E questo si può fare in poche zone d'Italia. Questo è molto importante, non ci sono strade, non c'è carbonica che gira, non c'è auto, quindi il vino dei Monti Lissini è in un ambiente sano e incontaminato, quindi è molto, diciamo, arriva da un ambiente molto naturale con boschi, prati, vigna, api, cioè c'è questo ecosistema che è veramente importante. Ed è il futuro, perché in Italia si sta parlando molto di ecosistema e di sostenibilità. Quindi non produrre, diciamo, non mettere la vigna dappertutto per fare vino, cioè però coltivare la vigna su dei luoghi, diciamo, molto sani e puliti per fare un vino altrettanto buono, sano e pulito. Questo è molto importante.
Yeah, so Sandro is referring to let's say a heightened awareness in Italy that of heightened awareness, but also value for ecosystems. So this would mean it's basically referring to me it's the concept of biodiversity. So having, let's say, insects around, having forests around, not just having vineyard after vineyard after vineyard,
Right,
but
the biodiversity. Yeah, very good.
That is the tradition, tradition in Italy up until like maybe 50 years ago was that, and then wine has caught on to become more of a commercial high volume business, and that has changed the landscape, literally, whereby in Italy you do see these huge vineyards, next to roads and potentially, let's say, areas that are polluted, but Sandro's his farm is in an area that is it sounds like a great place to get some fresh air and get away from the craziness in the world. So Sandro, hai anche un bella cantina per visitare, giusto?
Visitare, sì.
Yes.
Questa sera abbiamo, esempio, 38 persone che fanno una degustazione. Fanno una degustazione di vini vintage 2017 di Soave. No, 2007, sorry, 2007, vino che ha 15 anni, vino bianco 15 anni, ancora bello in forma.
So yeah, he's inviting all of us to visit. Jackie and I went to visit them, as I mentioned last year. They have this great big room that's right next to the wine cellar where their classic method wines are aging, and so he said, like, for example, tonight they have a great sort of like a vertical tasting of some of their wines. So we're invited.
Tell them we accept.
Veniamo, dai.
Dai, bisogna, dai. Prossimo Vinitaly, last Vinitaly, come back.
Yes, exactly.
Come in cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whether you're going to Italy for, Sandro said, Italy, or just vacation, you can reach out to us. We'd be happy to put you in touch with Sandro. so that we can go visit them. So yeah, I don't think we have any other questions. And I think this is time to say salute.
Salute.
Cheers, chin chin.
Ciao, Bella.
Ok, cin.
And
Thank you.
Ok.
and
Salute.
buon
Grazie
Natale,
Roxana. Grazie
Yeah.
Roxana.
Natale, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, Happy everything. So, bye.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
And good,
ciao.
come si dice, buon Natale.
Buon Natale. Yep.
Buon
Buon
Natale.
Natale and Happy New Year. And the last year is the best of the past. Ok? Grazie
We'll see you
mille.
in 2023.
Ciao, grazie Roxana. Ciao
Bye-bye.
Sheila, ci sentiamo.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao, 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 ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Grazie. Ciao, 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 ciao. Ciao.